Sarah Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she cleaned her rifle for the third time that morning. The desert sun beat down on Forward Operating Base Kandahar, where she served as a supply specialist with the 82nd Airborne Division. At 24, she had joined the Army to prove something to herself and everyone back home, who said women didn't belong in combat zones. The other soldiers barely noticed her as she moved between supply trucks and equipment. To them, she was just another support personnel, someone who counted ammunition and distributed MREs. They didn't see the hours she spent at the firing range after her shifts ended, or the way she studied combat tactics in her spare time. Sarah had grown up hunting with her father in the mountains of Colorado, learning to shoot before she could properly tie her shoes. During morning briefings, Sarah listened intently as intelligence officers described enemy positions in the surrounding valleys. Taliban fighters had been increasingly bold in their attacks on supply convoys and patrol units. The terrain favored ambushes, with rocky outcroppings and cave systems providing perfect cover for insurgents. Sarah memorized every detail about enemy movement patterns and weapon capabilities. Even though her official duties kept her safely within the base perimeter, her squad leader, Sergeant Johnson, was a career soldier who believed women should stick to administrative roles. He made his opinions clear during training exercises, often assigning Sarah to communications or medical support rather than combat positions. When she requested additional weapons training, he laughed and told her to focus on her real job. The other male soldiers followed his lead, treating her with polite indifference at best. One evening, Sarah overheard a conversation between two infantry sergeants discussing upcoming operations. They mentioned that several outposts in the region were undermanned and requesting additional firepower support. The M249 squad automatic weapon was specifically mentioned as being crucial for suppressing enemy positions during extended firefights. Sarah had trained extensively with the M249 during basic training and knew its capabilities better than most soldiers in her unit. That night, Sarah lay on her cot thinking about the conversation she had overheard. She knew that conventional military wisdom dictated that women weren't physically capable of handling the M249 effectively in combat situations. The weapon weighed over 22 pounds when fully loaded, and required significant upper body strength to control during sustained fire. Most male soldiers struggled with its weight and recoil during extended engagements. The next morning brought news that changed everything. A convoy of vehicles carrying critical supplies to an isolated outpost had been ambushed 20 miles northeast of their base. 3 soldiers were wounded, and the convoy was trapped in a valley surrounded by enemy fighters positioned in elevated positions. The rescue mission would require a full combat team with heavy weapon support to break through enemy lines and extract the trapped personnel. As the battalion prepared for the rescue operation, Sarah approached her commanding officer with an unusual request. She wanted to carry the M249 as part of the assault team heading to rescue the trapped convoy. Captain Williams looked at her with surprise and concern, knowing that such a request was highly irregular. Supply specialists weren't typically assigned to direct combat roles, especially in high-risk operations like this one. The other soldiers in the briefing room fell silent when they heard Sarah's request. Some exchanged glances and barely suppressed smiles, thinking it was either a joke or a misguided attempt at heroism. Sergeant Johnson shook his head disapprovingly, muttering something about people not knowing their place in the military structure. The tension in the room was thick as everyone waited for the captain's response. Captain Williams studied Sarah's personnel file and combat training scores. Despite her official role as a supply specialist, her marksmanship ratings were among the highest in the battalion. Her physical fitness scores consistently exceeded requirements, and her tactical knowledge was impressive for someone in a support position. Still, assigning a female soldier to carry the squad's primary automatic weapon in a combat operation was unprecedented in their unit. Sarah stood at attention, maintaining eye contact with her commanding officer, while the room remained silent. She knew this moment would define not only her military career, but also how she would be perceived by every soldier in her unit. The rescue mission was scheduled to begin within hours, and time was running out for the trapped convoy. Her heart pounded as she waited for a decision that would either validate years of preparation or confirm everyone's assumptions about her limitations. The weight of tradition, military protocol, and gender expectations hung heavy in the air. Sarah had spent months proving herself through actions rather than words, but now she needed someone in authority to take a chance on her abilities. She thought about the wounded soldiers waiting for rescue, and the families who were counting on their safe return. This wasn't about proving a point anymore. It was about saving lives and completing the mission successfully. Captain Williams closed Sarah's file and looked directly at her. After what felt like an eternity, he nodded slowly and said she could carry the M249, but only if she could demonstrate her proficiency immediately. The weapons sergeant was ordered to set up a live fire exercise using the exact same ammunition load she would carry in combat. Sarah would have 15 minutes to prove she could handle the weapon effectively under simulated combat conditions. Word spread quickly through the base that a female supply specialist was attempting to qualify for combat operations with the M249. Soldiers gathered around the firing range, some genuinely curious and others expecting to witness an embarrassing failure. Sarah ignored the growing crowd and focused on checking her equipment. She adjusted the weapon's bipod, tested the ammunition feed, and mentally reviewed the firing positions she had practiced countless times in secret. The test began with Sarah firing from a prone position at targets placed at varying distances. The M249's distinctive sound echoed across the range as she delivered controlled bursts with remarkable precision. Her body absorbed the weapon's recoil naturally, and her target groupings were consistently tight. The watching soldiers gradually stopped their conversations as they realized they were witnessing something unexpected. Sergeant Johnson watched with growing amazement as Sarah transitioned smoothly between firing positions. She moved from prone to kneeling to standing positions while maintaining accurate fire on multiple targets. Her movements were fluid and confident, showing none of the struggle that many male soldiers experienced when first handling the weapon. The bipod deployment and weapon manipulation appeared effortless, contradicting every assumption about her physical limitations. During the final phase of the test, Sarah was required to carry the fully loaded M249 while moving between covered positions under simulated enemy fire. She sprinted between barriers, dropped into firing positions, and engaged targets while breathing heavily from exertion. Her accuracy remained consistent throughout the exercise, and she completed every required task within the time limits. The silence from the observing soldiers was deafening. Captain Williams approached the targets to examine Sarah's results personally. Every target showed evidence of precise shot placement, with several displaying impressive groupings that exceeded standard qualification requirements. He turned to face the assembled soldiers and announced that Sarah had not only passed the qualification, but had achieved scores that ranked among the best in the battalion. The rescue mission would proceed with her as the designated M249 operator. As the unit prepared for departure, the atmosphere towards Sarah began shifting noticeably. Some soldiers who had previously dismissed her now watched with newfound respect as she prepared her equipment. Others remained skeptical, believing that range performance wouldn't translate to actual combat effectiveness. Sergeant Johnson approached her privately and warned that combat was different from training, implying that she might endanger the mission when faced with real enemy fire. The rescue team consisted of 12 soldiers traveling in 3 armored vehicles. Sarah rode in the lead vehicle, her M249 positioned for immediate deployment if they encountered enemy contact. The weight of responsibility sat heavily on her shoulders as she realized that lives depended on her ability to perform under actual combat conditions. The desert landscape passed by outside as they drove toward the ambush site. Intelligence reports indicated that approximately 15 to 20 enemy fighters had surrounded the trapped convoy using elevated positions in the rocky terrain. The insurgents possessed automatic weapons, rocket-propelled grenades, and possibly improvised explosive devices. The rescue team's success would depend on their ability to suppress enemy positions quickly and create an escape route for the trapped vehicles. As they approached the combat zone, radio communications with the trapped convoy became clearer. The soldiers' voices revealed exhaustion and desperation as they described their situation. Enemy fire had intensified throughout the day and their ammunition was running low. 2 wounded soldiers needed immediate medical evacuation, and the vehicles were taking increasing damage from accurate enemy shooting. Sarah checked her weapon one final time and adjusted her body armor for maximum mobility. The M249 felt familiar in her hands despite the unique circumstances of this mission. She had trained for moments like this throughout her military career. But she had never imagined her first real combat experience would come under such scrutiny from her fellow soldiers. The sound of distant gunfire grew louder as they approached the ambush site. The convoy commander's voice crackled over the radio, providing updated coordinates of enemy positions and requesting immediate assistance. Sarah studied the tactical map and identified likely firing positions based on the terrain features visible through her vehicle's observation ports. She mentally rehearsed engagement procedures and calculated ammunition requirements for sustained suppressive fire against multiple targets. Team leader, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez briefed the rescue team on their approach strategy. They would establish overwatch positions on high ground overlooking the ambush site, then use coordinated fire to suppress enemy positions while the trapped convoy moved to safety. Sarah's role would be crucial in providing continuous suppressive fire to keep enemy fighters from effectively engaging the moving vehicles during the extraction. The vehicles stopped, approximately half a mile from the ambush site, and the soldiers prepared to move on foot to their assigned positions. Sarah shouldered her M249 and checked that her ammunition pouches were secure and accessible. The desert heat was intense, but adrenaline kept her focused on the mission ahead. Around her, the other soldiers made final preparations, some stealing glances at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to concern about her upcoming performance. The rescue team moved across the rocky terrain toward their overwatch positions, with Sarah carrying her M249 alongside 11 experienced infantry soldiers. The weight of the weapon and ammunition felt manageable despite the challenging terrain and oppressive heat. She had trained in similar conditions and knew how to pace herself during extended movements with heavy equipment. As they approached the ridge overlooking the ambush site, the sound of gunfire became clearly audible. The trapped convoy was visible in the valley below, with 3 vehicles positioned defensively behind large rocks and debris. Muzzle flashes from enemy positions dotted the surrounding hillsides, revealing the locations of insurgent fighters who had maintained their attack for several hours. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez assigned firing positions to each team member based on their weapons and the tactical situation. Sarah was positioned at the center of their line, where her M249 could provide suppressive fire across the widest area of enemy positions. The bipod legs extended easily on the rocky surface, creating a stable platform for accurate automatic fire. Her ammunition pouches were arranged for quick access during extended engagements. Through her weapon sight, Sarah could see individual enemy fighters moving between covered positions on the opposite hillside. They appeared confident and well-organized, suggesting experienced combatants rather than untrained insurgents. Several fighters carried rocket-propelled grenades, which posed a significant threat to both the trapped convoy and the rescue team. The tactical situation was more complex than initially briefed. The rescue team's radio operator established communication with the trapped convoy to coordinate the extraction plan. The convoy commander reported that his soldiers were running critically low on ammunition, and that one wounded soldier's condition was deteriorating rapidly. Time was becoming a critical factor, and the rescue operation needed to begin immediately to prevent further casualties. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez gave the signal to begin the attack, and the rescue team opened fire simultaneously on identified enemy positions. Sarah's M249 roared to life, sending controlled bursts toward insurgent fighters who had been harassing the trapped convoy. The weapon's distinctive sound echoed across the valley as she systematically engaged targets based on priority and threat level. The enemy response was immediate and intense. Automatic weapon fire erupted from multiple positions as insurgent fighters realized they were under attack from a new direction. Bullets struck the rocks around Sarah's position, sending stone fragments flying through the air. She maintained her focus on target engagement, adjusting her aim based on enemy muzzle flashes and movement patterns. Sarah's training took over as she fell into a rhythm of controlled bursts, followed by target assessment and repositioning. The M249's rate of fire allowed her to suppress multiple enemy positions in quick succession, preventing insurgent fighters from maintaining effective fire on either the rescue team or the trapped convoy. Her ammunition expenditure was carefully controlled to ensure sustained fire capability throughout the engagement. One enemy fighter attempted to move to a better firing position but was caught in the open when Sarah spotted his movement. Her burst of automatic fire forced him to take cover behind inadequate protection, effectively removing him from the fight. The psychological impact of accurate automatic weapon fire was evident as other enemy fighters became more cautious about exposing themselves. The trapped convoy began moving toward the extraction route as planned, but enemy fire intensified in response to their movement. Sarah shifted her fire to provide direct support for the moving vehicles, concentrating her bursts on enemy positions that posed the greatest threat to the convoy's escape route. Her situational awareness allowed her to prioritize targets effectively while maintaining communication with other team members. A rocket-propelled grenade exploded near one of the rescue team positions, temporarily disrupting their coordinated fire plan. Sarah increased her rate of fire to compensate for the reduced suppression from other weapons, ensuring that enemy fighters couldn't take advantage of the brief lull in incoming fire. The M249's sustained fire capability proved crucial in maintaining pressure on insurgent positions. Enemy fighters began attempting to flank the rescue team's positions, moving through dead ground that provided concealment from most of the team's weapons. Sarah spotted the flanking movement and adjusted her position to engage the new threat while continuing to provide suppressive fire on primary enemy positions. The weapon's portability allowed her to reposition quickly without losing fire superiority. The intensity of the firefight continued to escalate as both sides committed additional resources to the engagement. Sarah's ammunition consumption was higher than planned due to the increased enemy activity, but her controlled bursts ensured maximum effectiveness from each round fired. The other soldiers began to recognize that her fire discipline and target selection were exceeding their expectations. Communication with the trapped convoy indicated that they were making progress toward the extraction point, but enemy fire was still preventing their complete withdrawal from the ambush site. Sarah coordinated with the other M249 gunner and the rescue team to provide overlapping fields of fire that would create a corridor of suppression. For the convoy's final movement phase, the sound of her weapon had become a constant presence in the battle, providing both physical suppression of enemy positions and psychological reassurance to friendly forces. Sarah realized that her performance was being observed not only by her immediate team members but also by the soldiers in the trapped convoy who could hear the distinctive sound of supporting automatic weapons fire. As the engagement continued, Sarah's confidence grew with each successful target engagement. The weapon felt like a natural extension of her abilities, responding precisely to her input and delivering accurate fire where needed. The months of training and preparation were paying off in a real combat situation where lives depended on her performance. The battle reached a critical phase when enemy fighters launched a coordinated assault on both the rescue team and the escaping convoy simultaneously. Sarah found herself engaging targets on multiple fronts as insurgent fighters emerged from concealed positions throughout the valley. Her M249 became the primary source of suppressive fire, keeping the enemy from overrunning friendly positions. 3 enemy fighters had positioned themselves in a cave system that provided excellent cover while allowing them to direct accurate fire toward the convoy's escape route. Traditional rifle fire from the rescue team wasn't effective against their protected position, but Sarah's sustained automatic fire kept them pinned down and unable to engage effectively. Her understanding of suppressive fire tactics proved crucial in neutralizing this key threat. The convoy commander radioed that his lead vehicle had sustained engine damage and was losing mobility. The damaged vehicle would need to be abandoned, and its occupants would need to transfer to the other vehicles while under enemy fire. This transfer operation would require intensive, suppressive fire to prevent enemy fighters from taking advantage of the vulnerable moment. Sarah coordinated her fire with the other automatic weapons in the rescue team to create an umbrella of suppression over the convoy's position. Her disciplined bursts were timed to overlap with fire from other team members, ensuring continuous pressure on enemy positions while conserving ammunition for the extended engagement. The complexity of coordinating multiple automatic weapons required precise timing and communication. During the vehicle transfer operation, an enemy sniper began engaging targets with accurate single shots from a concealed position, approximately 400 meters away. Sarah spotted the muzzle flash and immediately shifted her fire to suppress the sniper's position. While the M249 wasn't designed for precision shooting at that range, her controlled bursts forced the sniper to take cover and disrupted his ability to target the transferring soldiers. The wounded soldiers from the convoy were successfully transferred to the remaining vehicles, but their condition was deteriorating and required immediate evacuation to medical facilities. The convoy's movement toward safety needed to accelerate, which meant the rescue team would need to maintain suppressive fire while also preparing to withdraw from their current positions. Enemy fighters recognized that their opportunity to prevent the convoy's escape was diminishing and launched desperate attacks on the rescue team's positions. Sarah's position received concentrated fire from multiple directions as insurgents attempted to eliminate the automatic weapon that was preventing their success. She maintained her composure under intense pressure, continuing to engage targets while bullets struck around her position. A rocket-propelled grenade impacted dangerously close to Sarah's fighting position, showering her with rock debris and temporarily affecting her hearing. Despite the close call, she immediately resumed firing and maintained her sector of responsibility. Her determination to continue fighting under adverse conditions impressed the other soldiers who witnessed her reaction to the near miss. The rescue team began a fighting withdrawal to support the convoy's movement toward safety while maintaining pressure on enemy positions. Sarah's role became even more critical during this phase because withdrawing forces are particularly vulnerable to enemy pursuit and flanking maneuvers. Her sustained fire prevented enemy fighters from following too closely or setting up new ambush positions. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez coordinated the withdrawal by having team members move in pairs, while others provided covering fire. Sarah's position required her to remain in place longer than most other team members because her automatic weapon was essential for covering the movement of soldiers carrying wounded personnel and heavy equipment. Her extended exposure to enemy fire tested both her courage and her tactical skills. The M249's ammunition consumption during the extended engagement was substantial, and Sarah began managing her remaining rounds carefully while maintaining effective suppression of enemy positions. Her fire discipline became even more important as she calculated ammunition requirements for the remainder of the withdrawal operation. Each burst needed to achieve maximum tactical effect while conserving rounds for continued operations. Enemy fighters attempted one final assault as they realized the rescue operation was succeeding. Despite their efforts, Sarah's accurate fire broke up their coordinated attack by targeting the leaders and forcing the other fighters to seek cover rather than advancing on friendly positions. Her ability to identify key targets and engage them effectively demonstrated advanced tactical understanding beyond her official training level. The trapped convoy successfully reached the extraction point where additional friendly forces were waiting to provide security and medical support. The wounded soldiers were immediately transferred to medical vehicles for evacuation to the field hospital. The mission's primary objective had been accomplished, but the rescue team still needed to complete their own withdrawal under continued enemy pressure. Sarah's ammunition supply was running critically low as the team prepared for the final phase of their withdrawal. She informed Staff Sergeant Rodriguez of her situation, and arrangements were made for another soldier to carry additional M249 ammunition during their movement to the extraction point. Her accurate assessment of ammunition requirements and early communication prevented a potentially dangerous situation. The enemy fire gradually diminished as insurgent fighters recognized that their ambush had failed and began withdrawing to avoid engagement with additional friendly forces arriving in the area. Sarah maintained overwatch during the final stages of the rescue operation, ensuring that enemy fighters couldn't regroup for another attack on the withdrawing forces. As the rescue team moved toward their extraction point, Sarah reflected on the engagement and her performance under actual combat conditions. The months of training and preparation had proven effective, but she recognized that this was just one engagement in what would likely be many combat operations during her deployment. Her confidence was higher, but she remained focused on continuous improvement and learning from the experience. The other soldiers in the rescue team were beginning to view Sarah differently based on her performance during the firefight. Comments and glances that had previously suggested skepticism were being replaced by expressions of professional respect. Her actions had spoken more convincingly than any amount of training or preparation could have demonstrated in peacetime conditions. Back at Forward Operating Base Kandahar, news of the successful rescue operation spread quickly through the ranks. Sarah's role in the mission became the subject of intense discussion among soldiers who had previously dismissed her capabilities. The 12 soldiers she had helped rescue were vocal in their praise of her performance, particularly her steady fire that had kept enemy fighters from overrunning their positions during the most critical moments of the engagement. Captain Williams called Sarah into his office for a detailed debrief of the mission. As she recounted her actions and observations during the firefight, he took careful notes about her tactical decisions and ammunition management. Her ability to maintain effective fire while coordinating with other team members had exceeded all expectations, and her performance was being documented for higher command. Review, the medical report on the rescued soldiers revealed that both wounded personnel would make full recoveries thanks to the rapid extraction from the ambush site. The convoy commander specifically mentioned in his official report that Sarah's suppressive fire had been instrumental in preventing additional casualties during the rescue operation. Her actions had directly contributed to saving lives and completing the mission successfully. Sergeant Johnson approached Sarah privately to offer an apology for his previous skepticism about her capabilities. He admitted that his preconceptions about women in combat roles had been challenged by her performance, and he requested permission to recommend her for advanced combat training opportunities. The conversation marked a significant shift in their professional relationship and opened new possibilities for Sarah's military career. Word of Sarah's combat performance reached other units within the division, and requests began arriving for her to participate in additional operations requiring automatic weapons specialists. Her reputation as a reliable and effective M249 gunner was spreading throughout the command structure, creating opportunities for more challenging assignments and increased responsibilities within combat operations. The rescued soldiers made a point of seeking Sarah out personally to thank her for her role in their survival. Their first-hand accounts of how her accurate fire had kept enemy fighters suppressed during the most dangerous moments of the ambush carried significant weight among other soldiers. These personal testimonials were more convincing than any official recognition could have been in changing attitudes toward her capabilities. 3 weeks later, intelligence reports indicated that a major insurgent stronghold had been identified in a valley system approximately 30 miles from the base. The compound contained an estimated 40 to 50 enemy fighters and served as a logistics hub for attacks throughout the region. A large-scale assault was being planned that would require multiple automatic weapons specialists to suppress defensive positions during the attack. Sarah was specifically requested by name to participate in the assault operation, marking the first time a female soldier from her unit had been assigned to a major offensive action. The mission would involve coordinating fire from multiple M249 positions to create gaps in enemy defenses that assault teams could exploit. Her proven ability to work effectively with other automatic weapons teams made her an essential part of the operation. The pre-mission briefing revealed the complexity of the target. With multiple defensive positions built into the mountainous terrain surrounding the insurgent compound, enemy fighters had constructed elaborate bunker systems and firing positions that would require sustained suppressive fire to neutralize. Sarah studied the terrain models and identified optimal firing positions for maximum effectiveness against the expected threats. During mission preparation, Sarah was approached by several female soldiers from support units who had heard about her combat success. They expressed gratitude that she had proven women could perform effectively in combat roles and asked for advice about pursuing similar opportunities. Her actions had opened doors for other women who wanted to expand their roles beyond traditional support positions. The assault team consisted of 36 soldiers organized into multiple elements with specific tactical responsibilities. Sarah was assigned to lead the automatic weapons section, coordinating fire from 4 M249 positions to support the advance of rifle teams against enemy positions. The leadership responsibility was unprecedented for someone of her rank and background, but her combat experience made her the logical choice for the assignment. Training. Exercises for the upcoming operation allowed Sarah to work with the other automatic weapons specialists and develop coordinated fire plans for various contingencies. Her tactical knowledge and understanding of suppressive fire techniques impressed the other soldiers, many of whom were career infantry specialists with extensive combat experience. Her ability to communicate complex tactical concepts clearly made the coordination more effective. The night before the assault, Sarah cleaned and inspected her M249 with the same careful attention she had always given her equipment. However, the significance of the upcoming operation was different from the rescue mission. This would be a deliberate attack against a prepared enemy position, requiring sustained combat operations over potentially several hours. The physical and mental demands would be substantial. Intelligence updates suggested that enemy fighters at the target location were well-trained and heavily armed with automatic weapons, rocket-propelled grenades, and possibly heavy machine guns. The defensive positions had been constructed with overlapping fields of fire that would make the assault challenging even with effective suppressive fire support. Sarah's role in neutralizing these defenses would be crucial to the mission's success. As she lay in her cot that night, Sarah reflected on the dramatic changes in her military career over the past month. The skepticism and dismissive attitudes she had encountered were being replaced by professional respect and increased responsibilities. However, she recognized that each successful operation would bring new challenges and higher expectations for her performance. The other soldiers in her unit were beginning to seek her advice on automatic weapons tactics and combat techniques. Her expertise was being recognized not because of her gender, but despite it, based solely on demonstrated competence under actual combat conditions. The transition from being viewed as an exception to being accepted as a professional equal was gradual but undeniable. Sarah's transformation from supply specialist to combat leader represented more than personal achievement. Her success was creating opportunities for other women in similar situations and challenging institutional assumptions about gender roles in military operations. The impact extended beyond her individual career to influence policies and attitudes throughout the military structure. The assault on the insurgent stronghold began before dawn, with Sarah leading her automatic weapons team into position on the ridgeline overlooking the target compound. The enemy defensive positions were more elaborate than intelligence had indicated, with interconnected bunkers and fighting positions carved into the rocky terrain. Sarah quickly identified the key positions that would need to be suppressed to allow the assault teams to advance successfully. As the attack commenced, Sarah coordinated devastating suppressive fire from 4 M249 positions that systematically neutralized enemy defensive positions. Her tactical understanding of how automatic weapons could be used to create gaps in enemy defenses proved crucial as assault teams moved through the compound. The months of training and her previous combat experience had prepared her for the complexity of coordinating multiple weapons in a large-scale engagement. The enemy fighters proved to be well-trained and determined, mounting strong resistance from prepared positions throughout the compound. Sarah's section faced intense return fire from heavy machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades, but she maintained effective fire coordination despite the dangerous conditions. Her calm leadership under pressure kept the other automatic weapons specialists focused on their tactical responsibilities. During the most intense phase of the battle, an enemy counterattack threatened to overrun one of the assault teams advancing through the compound. Sarah immediately shifted 2 M249 positions to provide direct support for the threatened unit, while maintaining suppression of other enemy positions. Her quick tactical decisions and effective communication prevented a potential disaster and allowed the assault to continue. The compound was successfully captured after 4 hours of sustained fighting, with minimal friendly casualties due to the effective suppressive fire provided by Sarah's automatic weapons section. Intelligence materials recovered from the site revealed plans for major attacks on coalition forces throughout the region. The operation had eliminated a significant threat and disrupted enemy operations across a wide area. In her after-action report, the battalion commander specifically praised Sarah's leadership and tactical expertise during the assault operation. Her ability to coordinate multiple automatic weapons positions and adapt to changing tactical situations had been instrumental in the mission's success. The report recommended her for promotion and advanced leadership training opportunities within the combat arms branches. 3 months later, Sarah received orders promoting her to sergeant and transferring her to a frontline infantry unit as a squad leader, responsible for automatic weapons tactics and training. The assignment marked a historic milestone as she became one of the first women to serve in a direct combat leadership role within her division. Her path from supply specialist to infantry leader demonstrated that capability and performance could overcome traditional barriers. The soldiers she had rescued during her first combat operation maintained contact with Sarah throughout her deployment, often sharing her story with other units and emphasizing how her actions had saved their lives. Their testimonials became powerful examples of how Individual courage and competence could challenge institutional assumptions and create positive change within military organizations. Sarah's success inspired other women throughout the division to pursue combat roles and advanced training opportunities. Her example demonstrated that physical strength and technical expertise could overcome prejudice and skepticism when supported by determination and professional competence. The cultural shift within the unit was gradual but measurable, as attitudes toward women in combat roles continued to evolve. During her final months in Afghanistan, Sarah participated in 12 major combat operations and led automatic weapons sections in some of the most challenging engagements of the deployment. Her tactical innovations and training methods were documented and incorporated into official doctrine for automatic weapons employment in mountainous terrain. Her contributions extended beyond individual performance to influence how future operations would be conducted. The statistical impact of Sarah's combat service was significant. The operations she participated in resulted in the rescue of over 100 coalition personnel and the elimination of numerous enemy positions throughout the region. Her accurate fire and tactical leadership had directly contributed to mission success while minimizing friendly casualties during dangerous operations. When Sarah returned to the United States, she was assigned to the Army Infantry School as an instructor responsible for developing automatic weapons training programs. Her combat experience and tactical expertise made her uniquely qualified to train the next generation of soldiers in effective employment of crew-served weapons. The assignment represented the military's recognition of her professional competence and leadership potential. Years later, Sarah would often reflect on that first moment when she asked to carry the M249 into combat. The laughter and skepticism she had faced seemed insignificant compared to the lives that had been saved and the barriers that had been broken. Her journey from supply specialist to combat leader had required courage, determination, and countless hours of preparation, but the results had exceeded her original goals. The legacy of Sarah's service extended far beyond her individual achievements. Military policies regarding women in combat roles continued evolving, partly influenced by documented examples of successful performance like hers. Her story became part of the evidence, supporting expanded opportunities for women in all military occupational specialties based on individual merit, rather than gender-based assumptions. Sarah's transformation from a soldier who faced ridicule for requesting an M249 to a respected combat leader who saved over 100 lives demonstrated the power of perseverance and professional competence. Her story continued inspiring others long after her active service ended, proving that courage and capability could overcome any obstacle when combined with unwavering determination to succeed.